Hi everyone, my name is Otis. You're welcome to Otalim's Academy. So today I just want to go through. I saw some articles on the internet today. They're damning articles about the e-commerce growth in Africa, and I find it worrisome. And as a digital marketing specialist, I just want to lend my voice and put the record straight and obviously make some correction about these authors, what they've written about the e-commerce growth, because sadly enough that some of these articles have actually found its way into Harvard Business Review, where thousands and millions of people have access to it, and which give a different perception about the African continent. So African continent have come a long way. So it is important that we debunk some of this write-up and make the record straight. So I'm just logged onto the internet and said the problems of e-commerce in Africa. So you keep wondering why we keep talking about the problems. Why not we talk about the gains of e-commerce in Africa? Rather than talking about the gains, we keep dwelling on what the problem is. So in the actual sense, the African e-commerce have actually grown. And Nigeria, respectively, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, they're doing well in e-commerce. We're not there yet, but at least there've been progress over time. And no one, never in the world that just got it right at once. So we need to give credit to the business, to those people who have been able to break the ice in Africa in terms of electronic process. So I'm going to go through some of these. If you take a look here, I'm going to read what this author said about the e-commerce. He said Africa has been a laggard in e-commerce for many reasons, including lack of internet access, poverty, a high rate of illiteracy, and logistical inefficiency. He said internet penetration is only 35% according to an emergent payment, a payment platform provider. Few consumers on desktop and laptop computer. Well, I think it's a little bit out of touch because the world is even going away from that laptop. Everybody's going on their mobile. So if you're using desktop and laptop to be a kind of your measurement for e-commerce growth, I think you're heading in the opposite direction. So, and again, let's take it line by line. South Africa has been a laggard in e-commerce for many reasons. Well, there's no problem about being a laggard. The question is, where is Africa in e-commerce business now? So, yes, I could take that. They've been a laggard for that. Yes, true. So, again, he said, including lack of internet access. This is poorly worded and poorly defined because if you say lack of internet access, there is internet in Africa. The problem, whether if it is problem of slow or problem of non-efficiency and everything, we can talk about that. So the current internet access, how far are we utilizing it in terms of electronic process? That's the question. It is not about the lack of internet access. So that is poorly defined. So, and again, it said poverty. Poverty here. This I don't understand what he meant by poverty. There's no country in the world where you don't have poor people. There's no place in the world where you have zero poverty. So ascribing that to Africa is just well. Let's just move forward. I don't want to use certain word. So poverty could be a problem, but that's not the major problem of e-commerce growth in Africa. So people feed, people buy groceries, irrespective of their status in the society. They buy food, they buy water, they buy different things. So the businesses in Africa, how many of the businesses in Africa have integrated electronic process, electronic checkout in their business process? So we're not actually looking at the real problem. We keep looking at generic problem. These are not the problems in Africa that is hindering the e-commerce growth. That is not. It's a high rate of literacy. How would you say that this is impacting What is your definition of illiteracy? Somebody's able to use his cell phone. So you're ascribing something without actually defining what that means. So if it's a high rate of illiteracy, what is the number of the educated elite in Africa? So what is the number of that people that are involved or that have been using the internet to make purchases? So if you can't define that, then a high rate of illiteracy shouldn't be a hindrance for electronic e-commerce growth in Africa. Illiteracy is relative. If I teach my grandmother, who is over 110 years, and she's able and then go to the four walls of higher institution and was able to identify my name on her phone, and it calls me all the way from Africa to the United States, and you're telling me what is your definition of illiteracy? You can ascribe her to be illiterate when it comes to the use of the cell phone. If she's able to use that cell phone, it just requires only just little teaching for her to be able to do some checkout process. So this does not address the slow growth of e-commerce in Africa. So then it's a logistical inefficiency. Come on, I don't. How has logistics become the problem in Africa that is impacting e-commerce growth in Africa? This is not true because we have not even used one third or quarter of the logistics that we have, or the logistic company that we have in Africa in terms of distribution. So, and we're talking that the logistic inefficiency, our definitions are really poorly worded when we are discussing the problem of Africa. None of this is a major problem of e-commerce growth in Africa. We have the UPS, we have the DHL, we have the FedEx, we have other local logistic company, and they're very, very efficient. We have the postal services, very, very efficient. Business have not actually utilized this logistic company. And you also have independent logistic companies that are doing effective distribution in Nigeria, in Africa, in South Africa, in Kenya. So when has this become the problem? So this is also poorly worded and does not represent why the problem of e-commerce in Africa. It said the internet penetration is only 35% according to Emergent Payment. Emergent Payment, probably I do a lot of research about it. Probably is one of the gateway. So you cannot use this single source to actually define the internet penetration in Africa. Well, if I'm to take you by your word, 35% of the internet penetration, how many of this percentage are actually using the electronic process in terms of doing their business, in terms of checking out, in terms of buying, booking a line ticket, and doing quite a lot of other businesses through this 35, out of this 35%. So the major problem is, one, is our weak regulatory system, financial regulatory system, and the government attitude towards the e-commerce growth, towards encouraging, incentivizing people to shop online, incentivizing businesses incentivizing their customers to complete the checkout process. I've had the opportunity to work in Nigeria, in Africa. So That's why I can talk about the logistics, how effective and how efficient the logistic is. You might question, okay, what they're doing and everything, but we've not even scratched the surface of the logistics. So it is not, it's not one of the problem. That is not. So it is absurd for me to read that. And again, say few consumers own desktop and laptop computers. The era of desktop and laptop computer is almost gone because everybody's on this mobile. You can do every business on your mobile. This is on the go. And Africa, they even have more a lot of almost everyone in Africa uses phone. Even if that it is not even all that are using phone, but the percentage of those who are using mobile phone, how have the businesses in Africa tapped into that percentage? So we're not really addressing the problem. What we call problem here are actually the opportunities. When you say lack of internet access, then opportunity for more internet provider to get in and provide their services. But e-commerce is a game of number. So the government have to do a lot in terms of encouraging business to integrate electronic checkout in their business operation. So I'm going to go down to see what others have, and challenges facing e-commerce startup in Africa, they're all the same. So let's go to this one. This limited it to five top. Oh, sorry, I don't want to give these. Um, I didn't want to get okay. So let's get that. So, and this one said mistrust of online shopping. Yes, I could go with this. Yes, to an extent, yes, this is it. So one of the problem um, affecting the e-commerce growth is actually mistrust. People are afraid. People are afraid that they're going to steal their information. They're going to steal their hard-earned money, probably as a result of a lot of things happening in Africa. So that's why I said one, the government uh, have to do something about it. Then our financial system also have to strengthening some of their operations. So that's one. I go with that mistrust of online shopping. That's one. That could be one of those reasons. Then it's a fragmented market. Said Africa has a diverse population with different cultures and this is not one of the problem of e-commerce growth in Africa. Absolutely not. The internet has come to solve the problem of fragmentation, and that's why we have the internet. It doesn't recognize boundary. So that's the reason why we have internet. So it is not. This is not. So people prefer to pay cash. Yes, Africa is a cash economy. This is one of the problems that are facing the e-commerce growth. And this is also where the government have to come in. So, and I'm just saying one thing here. I said the cash on delivery. This is the one of the worst payment method for any e-commerce company or any business in Africa to adopt. So your cash, if you're setting up your business on cash on delivery, you're setting yourself up to fail. Absolutely, you're setting yourself up to fail. Look at the expenses. You incur more expenses, cash on delivery, you pay for gas, you want to go back to get your money, and you get there, the daughter is sick or he left or something happened, the husband died or this one happened, and your money goes down the drain. So it is not a good payment method. So it should not even come in as part of the payment method for e-commerce. So any of the company that is adopting that, at the end of the day, you're going to calculate your costs and you know what you've done to yourself. So that's a high risk. So delivery logistics, I've talked on it. That's not a problem in Africa. Internet connectivity, these are something we can work on. It's an opportunity for more businesses to come into it. So this is not a problem. So why I'm just talking on this is just so that we don't scare investors who actually want to invest in Africa. So, and see some of these challenges as something that is insurmountable. That's not. We got a population, and the population is your currency. So all we need do is just to encourage people to go online. Look at when we're growing up, we circle around vendors, paper vendors, newspaper vendors, because most job application, most job vacancies are placed on newspapers. So we buy newspapers to scan, look for job opportunities. But things have changed. I'm talking about Africa. So now this they've been able to transit those business online. If those things has happened and people go there to search for job, apply online, do you see the tons of money that these companies have saved in actually paying newspapers to advertise that it's only just going to show for one day? You can pay that less than that to advertise online and it stays there as much as you want. So that's what we're trying to say. So they keep talking about the challenges, the challenges. Nobody's talking about the growth of e-commerce business. E-commerce has actually grown in Africa and in Nigeria, respectively. I remember in 2012, there was nothing like e-commerce business before the likes of Jumia, the Konga came in Nigeria. And these are supposed to be some of our local case study that we should look how these guys are able to break the ice and start up this e-commerce business with all these challenges. So I'm just talking to people who actually want to invest in Africa. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do your due diligence, but everything that you are seeing on the internet, just the way that I have display here, doesn't represent the reality on ground. So they are not even talking about the problem. So what you're saying should be an opportunity. Payment gateway, that's an opportunity for them to actually get in. Internet providers, they get the population. So in our subsequent video, we're going to be looking at the opportunities of e-commerce and other electronic business in Africa. So I just want to say thank you for listening to this presentation. And if you have a question, just send us an email and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you leave, and also follow us on other social network. Thank you.